We start each lesson with an alphabet. We start at the beginning teaching the students, how many letters are in the alphabet. We can divide our alphabet in half. We have a before half and an after half. We have our before hand as our left hand. Our after hand is our right hand. The initial stands for the beginning. F stands for final. And our medial is anything between A and Z, which would be B through Y. We have them touch and name. So with your beforehand, you would touch A through M. Then you would switch to your afterhand and touch N through Z. We do that every day in different ways. You can do it with the strip, or we have them use manipulate the blue letters. So we have them put them in a semicircle. We talk about what semi means. In our initial letters, we put down first, our anchor letters. So our initial letter is A, our final letter is Z, our two middle letters are M and N. And then we're going to fill in our before half and our after half with the rest of the alphabet. And another way, and we'll touch and name those when they're in their semicircle. And then we can put them, then we move into making two rows with our before half and after half. And so they'll build their alphabet in two rows. We touch and name. We talk about accent also. So if I had my before half built a little bit, I'll show you. Then we use our beforehand, which is our left hand, and we touch and accent every other letter. A, B, C, D, E, and we'd go on and do both before and after, because we talk about accenting syllables in our words. And then we also have our alphabet deck, which has missing letters. So we practice this: J, K, what would be the next letter? L. So that's the first deck. Then we move into missing letter deck where the middle letter is missing. Then the beginning, the initial letter of that set. And then we go into finding the two missing letters. And the last set is just a mixture of. Sometimes our lessons have practice in alphabetizing words. So we start with just alphabetizing by the first letter, then we move into the second letter, and so on. This is an example of a lesson later in the books where we're alphabetizing to the third letter. These are our reading decks. We start with our letters, and we just name. So this is a fourth grade group that's further along in the program, so their stacks are a little bit bigger, and we divide them. But we just start naming. E, U consonant E, final stable syllable S-I-O-N, digraph T-H, trigraph D-G-E, U, digraph O-O, T, B, V, S, D, diphthong O-I, I, E consonant E, C. So we go through their stack for the day, and then we move into our keyword and sound cards. And they go like this: mop, explosion, jun, mansion, shun, mother, thumb, station, shun, igloo, I, spider, I, coin, oi, mouse, ow, leaf, ol, athlete, e, wagon. And we talk about how that's just air. Your mouth is getting ready to say the next sound. So a lot of kids come to us saying "wah," but really we teach them wagon is just air in your mouth getting in the position to make your next sound. Nest, and sink, And we go through our keyword and sound cards. These are a few of our feelies. When we go to introduce the new letter and sound that we're teaching, we have an object that we put in a bag and let the kids fill around and see if they can guess what the object is. And there's also riddles that go along with them. Then we let them guess what the object is and pull it out. So this would have been truck, 4 digraph CK, nose, shell, and 5 for the long I sound. So once we've discovered our new letter and sound, we move into our handwriting. So this is an example of diphthong OI, which we've already learned O and I, so now it's just combining them together. So the student will name and trace, and then name and write. And then we will do our cards of our letter and our keyword and sound, and then they will make their final copy. So this is where we move into practicing our new coding and reading. So whatever the lesson is, for example, if it was digraph CK, short vowel A, diphthong OI, this is where we would practice that coding and then reading words with it. This is a syllable division practice where we're practicing vowel, consonant, vowel words. Next, we practice our instant words. So we practice instant words by using flashcards. We can read them in columns. We practice reading the same words in rows. And then we also practice reading the instant words in phrases and sentences. The next part of our lesson is when we practice our code and read sentences. So this is identifying any of the instant words that we've learned, and then any of the coding and rules that we've learned up to this point could be practiced in these sentences. So this is an example of a code and read sentences out of book 4. So this is what we call a rap page. It usually is taking the rule that we've learned and practicing it in different words. And so this is where we practice I do, we do, you do. So I would read the first line, and then they would echo, and then they would read. So this is when we do our spelling deck. This is where in the earlier picture of the reading decks was the green card. So I would have the green card, and I would have the student echo a sound, and then they would name it and write it. So I could say t, and they would say t, and they would write it. And we always have them write it in cursive. So this is our sound chip. So as we're learning our letters and sounds, we're also talking about the position that our mouth is in. And so then we go over these before we go into our spelling part of our lesson. And we, depending on where they are, is how far we chant. And we talk about how the vowels are on an anchor because the vowels anchor our words. So these are our sound trays. Like before, when we're teaching the student a new sound, we also are talking about the position that our mouth is in when we make that sound. So this helps us with our spelling. So we start by just giving them sounds that they echo, and then they're pulling down the corresponding mouth picture that goes with that sound. Then we move into giving them a word, and they pull down the corresponding mouth pictures to build that word. And then we can have them manipulate that and switch it. This is fit, so maybe we want them to make it tiff, so they would switch the initial final sound. We would then use our sound trays to work on our spelling practice. So I would give them a word, and they would echo it, blend it, pull down their sound cards, touch and spell, and then they're going to name and write it on their paper. And then code and read. And then we move from words into sentences. And they don't have to use their trays during sentences, only if they're needing help with a specific word that they're not sure of. But it's the same. I give them the sentence, they echo. I have any questions about any of those words, I give them the sentence again. And then they write. Make sure that our sentence starts with a capital, ends with punctuation. And at the very end, this is just kind of a closure review. One of the ways that we talk about helping them remember is by visuals. So we have a word or the concept, and then the meaning of that word, and then what would be something that you would draw or write in there that would help you remember what that means. And so these are concepts that we talk about before we start our dyslexia groups, and then it goes into book one and works through the concepts through all the books. It's just a great way to help them visualize what those words mean and put it in their memory.